The purpose of this experiment is to determine the relationship between the amount of force applied and the amount of springs in a system. To set up for this experiment, we first placed the ring stand in the lab bench. Then we taped a meter stick to the top of the ring stand. Next, we placed the first spring on the ring stand, later adding the second. Then we attached the force sensor to the bottom of the springs. Next, we attached the force sensor cord to the LabQuest and the computer using Logger Pro. To gather data, we put the first spring, the green spring, on the ring stand. After we zeroed the force sensor using Logger Pro, we measured the initial length of the spring from the top to the bottom with the meter stick. Then we pulled down on the force sensor, making the end of the spring reach our desired length. We then recorded the force given by Logger Pro and repeated the process. Then we switched the green spring for the second, the blue spring. We repeated the same process used for the green spring. We then combined the two springs, green on top, and again repeated the process using Logger Pro and the force sensor. Here is our data gathered for our blue spring, whose initial length was 0.168 meters. Here is our data gathered for our green spring, whose initial length was 0.155 meters. And finally, here is our data for our combined springs, whose initial length was 0.323 meters. Our graph compared force applied versus change in length for all data sets. The green spring is represented by the black line, the blue spring is represented by the blue line, and the combined springs are represented by the red line. All produced linear lines. The EOL for the green spring is force applied equals 43.25 newtons over meters times change in length. The EOL for the blue spring is force applied equals 21.41 newtons over meters times change in length. And the EOL for the combined springs is force applied equals 14.76 newtons over meters times change in length. Our results for this experiment are: as the amount of springs in a system increases, the force applied decreases. Force applied is proportional to the change in length, even if more springs are present. K, or the spring constant or slope, is smallest when both springs are present. And the model for this experiment remains force applied equals spring constant multiplied by the change in length. This experiment was made and conducted by Serena as the calculator, Caitlin as the Logger Pro operator, and Morgan is the force applier.